Hello, this screencast is a short and simple architecture overview of AngularJS for a single page application. We're implementing the model view controller, which you should already know about. So to begin with, we'll have a web page that's frequently called index.html so that it'll load automatically. And in that web page, we load our JavaScript libraries. Firstly, the Angular library to give us, naturally enough, the functionality that AngularJS offers. And then a series of files that we'll write ourselves. The first of these I'm calling app.js, but you can call it main.js. Indeed, you can call it anything you want, but often they're called app or main. Then I'm loading a file called controller.js, also a file I'll author, and then a file I'm calling service.js. So let's look at what each of those will do. So app.js takes URLs and it will map those to controllers and map them also to HTML snippets, which will be views of the data. So a controller then, and we'll have a controller for each URL, handles the logic that's behind that URL. So when you make a request for something, the controller will handle the logic of what that request means. And we'll have a controller for each of the URLs that the application will service. And the logic that the controller handles usually involves linking to data from some sort of model, which it will then display in a view. Angular offers us a couple of different classes that we could use to program a model, a service and a factory. I'm using a service simply because I quite like the syntax that uses, but functionally the two are identical to each other. So the service, which is acting like our model, deals with all of the data requests from the controller. So in response to a URL, the controller will usually request data. The service then handles that request for data and returns the data to the controller, which will then manipulate it in some way possibly and then link it to a view. So a view is a section on a web page that is any container tag, like a div, a p, an article, a section, and it contains that attribute ng-view. To make it, in actual fact, HTML5 compliant, we'll alter that slightly and make it data-ng-view. And it's inside there that any properties that the controller sets can be referenced in the HTML. So in our HTML we might have those curly braces and some property, some data, and that some data section in actual fact is a property inside the controller. So as the controller manipulates these properties, those properties are automatically linked to the matching directive inside this section of HTML, and this section is linked to that controller both because the app makes that link between a controller and an HTML snippet, and or the controller can make a link to that HTML snippet. It's also possible inside the HTML to link to a controller. So there are various ways we can link a controller to a particular snippet of information. And that's the overall architecture of this application. We have a web page, loads an app which routes the URLs. The logic of that URL is handled by the controller. Part of that is usually to get data, which we encapsulate inside another file I'm calling service, which returns the data to controller, which is then displayed in a view. It's relatively simple and straightforward as an architecture. Hope that's helpful. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.